Welcome everyone. Do you know why does our brain make us hesitate before taking a risk? Even when the reward system is promising. Whether it's going skydiving or simply asking for promotion, there is a science behind our thoughtful nature. In today's video, we are diving into neuroscience of risk taking, why we tend to play it safe, how loss aversion shape our decision, and how some people thrive on taking risks. So stick around because by the end of this video, you will learn not only understand why your brain prefers the safe choice, also learn how to rewire it to embrace a smart risk and new opportunity. So why we sometimes hesitate to take risk, even when the potential reward seems really attractive. Like your finger is hovering over the send button on that email that asking for a rise. There is this moment of pause, this little voice in your head saying, oh, wait a minute. It turned out there is something fascinating neuroscience behind, or you can say the brain science behind, why our brain often prefer to play it safe. Let me break it down for you in a way that it does not sound like a boring lecture. Because honestly, this stuff is pretty cool when you get into it. You know, our brain is a super complex control system, right? And there are these different areas that light up when we face with a risky decision. One of the key players is this called amygdala. Now the amygdala is like your brain alarm system. It's always on the guard for potential threat and danger. When you are considering taking a risk, this little part of your brain starts firing off signals like a crazy. But the amygdala does not just respond to physical danger, it also reacts all sort of perceived risk, including social and financial one. So whether you are thinking about skydiving or asking someone out for date, your amygdala is there waving red flag and saying, hey buddy, are you sure about this? Now you might be wondering, okay, but why does my brain seem to overreact sometimes? Like rationally, I know asking for a promotion isn't life-threatening, but my heart is still races like I am about to jump out of plane. Well, that's where this concept called loss aversion comes into play. So loss aversion is this quirky thing our brain do where we tend to feel the pain of losing something more intensely than pleasure of gaining something equivalent. It's like if I offer you a bet where you could either win $100 or lose $100 on the basis of coin flip. So most people would say, no thanks. The potential loss just feels worse than the potential gain, even though the logical is a fair bet. This tendency to avoid losses more than we seek gain is deeply ingrained in us. Some researchers think it might have evolutionary root. Back in day, being overly conscious could mean the difference between survival and becoming some predator's lunch. So our brain developed this bias towards avoiding potential losses, and it's stuck with us even in our modern world where the risks we face are often less immediately life-threatening. But not everyone's brain responds to risk in the same way. You know that the friend who is always up for an adventure, who seems to thrive to taking risks, well, their brain might be wired a bit differently. So a study has shown that the people who are more inclined to take risks often have a difference in how their brain process reward and punishments. For these thrill seekers, the potential reward of taking a risk light up the pleasure center in their brain more intensely. It's like their internal reward system is cranked up to 11. So while the rest of us might be hesitating at the thought of public speaking, but they are getting a rush of excitement from the challenge. But don't worry, if you are not naturally a risk taker, the cool thing about our brain is that is highly adaptable, and we can actually train ourselves to become more comfortable with taking a smart risk. It's all about the gradually expanding our comfort zones and reframing how we think about potential outcome. One strategy is to start small. Instead of diving headfirst into the major life-changing risk, try taking a small, calculated risk in your daily life. Maybe it's striking up a conversation with a stranger or trying a new hobby you have been curious about. Sometimes you step out of your comfort zone and realize the world doesn't end. You are rewiring your brain to be a little more comfortable with the uncertainty. Another helpful approach is to focus on potential gains rather than the potential losses. Remember how I mentioned our brain tend to fixate what we might lose? Well, we can consciously shift our attention to the possible benefit. When you are considering taking a risk, try a list of all the positive outcomes that could result. And this simple act can help balance out that naturally tendency towards loss aversion. But please do not take financial risk. It's also super important to recognize the difference between a smart risk and reckless behavior. We are not talking about throwing caution in the wind. The goal is to become more comfortable with calculated risks that have the potential to improve our life. This involves doing your research, weighing the pros and cons, and making informed decisions. It's funny how our brain can sometimes be our own worst enemy when it comes to taking risks, but it can also be our greatest partner if we learn how to work with it. It's all about understanding why we react the way we do and then gently nudging ourselves in the direction we want to go. We are not just at the mercy of our brain's default setting. We can actually influence how we can perceive and respond to risk. It's like having a superpower, right? The ability to rewire our own brains. And taking a smart risk isn't about the immediate outcome. It's about the personal growth and expanding our horizons. So every time we push ourselves out of the comfort zone, we are building resilience and self-confidence. And these experiences shape who we are and how we approach future challenges. Think about it. Some of the most rewarding experiences in life often come from taking risks. Whether it's applying for that dream job, starting new business, or even just trying a new restaurant. Embarrassing uncertainty can lead to amazing discovery and opportunity. Of course, it's not always easy. Our brains are really good at coming up with the worst case scenario and what if situation. But remember, most of time, those catastrophic outcomes we imagine are pretty unlikely. And even if things don't go perfectly, we are usually more capable of handling setback than we give ourselves credit for. Another thing is reframe your failure. Instead of seeing it as a terrible, embarrassing thing to be avoided at all cost, try thinking of it as a valuable feedback. Every failure is actually an opportunity to learn and grow. When we adopt this mindset, taking risks becomes less scary because we know that no matter what happens, we will come out of it with the new knowledge and experience. It's also worth noting that our attitude towards risk can change throughout our lives. Interestingly, the research has shown that the young people are more often inclined to take risks, especially when they are around their peers. This is partly because the reward center in their brain are particularly sensitive during their time of development. As we get older, we tend to become more cautious. But that doesn't mean we can't still challenge ourselves and embrace new experiences. The more we learn about the science behind risk taking, the more fascinated we become with how our brain works. It's like we are all walking around with this incredible complex supercomputer in our head, continuously assessing risk and reward, often without us even realizing it. But we are not just passive observer of our own brain process. We have the power of influence them. By understanding why we react the way we do to potential risk, we can start making more conscious choices about when to play it safe and when to take that leap of the faith. So the next time you find yourself hesitating before taking a risk, remember that is just your brain doing its job, trying to keep you safe. But also remember that you have the ability to pause, evaluate the situation rationally, and decide whether it is risk worth taking. Maybe it's time to have a little chat with your amygdala. Tell it, hey, I appreciate you are looking out for me, but I have got this. Sometime you need to take a chance to grow and experience new things. It might feel a bit silly, but actively engaging with your thought processing can be a powerful tool to overcoming ingrained fear and biases. At the end of the day, life is all about finding the right balance. We don't want to be reckless, but we also don't want to miss out the amazing opportunity because we are too afraid to take chances. By understanding the neuroscience behind our risk-taking behavior, we can make more informed decisions and push ourselves to grow in a way we never thought possible. So what do you say? Are you ready to embrace some smart risk and see where they might lead you? Remember, every great adventure starts with single step outside your comfort zone. Who knows what incredible experience might be waiting for you on the other side of the leap. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.